The world is on lockdown and the Dow futures are up. The privately owned Federal Reserve Bank makes sure their friends get money at tiny to no interest. The rich take paper fiat and buy the best assets. It's a scam against working Americans. There is a financial crushing of the population. There will be millions who perish, either through starvation, depression, drug use, lack of services, etc. America's income inequality gap is growing. The gap between rich and poor is the largest it's been since the Census Bureau started monitoring income inequality more than 50 years ago. The nation's poverty and unemployment rates are at all-time highs. On top of that, the U.S. is in the midst of the worst depression in American history. The economic inequality keeps on expanding. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and the middle class got crushed. The money was all appropriated for the top in the hopes that it would trickle down to the needy. The Fed thought that water trickles down. Put it uphill and let it go and it will reach the driest little spot. But it didn't know that money trickled up. Give it to the people at the bottom and the people at the top will have it before night, anyhow. But it will at least have passed through the poor fellow's hands. The greatest scam has been in convincing people that they're next in the trickle-down lineup. The rich just need to be protected a little bit longer so you can get to the front of the line and get yours. But then he rich closed down your factory and sent all the jobs to China. Corporations doing mass layoffs at times, mainly with employees who have put their time and sweat in, just to be shown out when it comes about time to collect. This pandemic has caused the gap between the ultra-wealthy and the rest of us to grow larger than it ever has been before. Thanks to the hyperinflationary policies of the Fed and our politicians in Washington, stock prices have soared to unprecedented heights in recent months. This pushed the wealth of the uber-rich to dizzying heights, but for the rest of the country 2020 was an unmitigated nightmare. 2020 was a personal financial disaster for 55% of all Americans. More than 110,000 restaurants shut down permanently, Americans filed more than 70 million claims for unemployment benefits, and tens of millions are potentially facing eviction in 2021. But even though we are mired in the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, those at the very top of the economic pyramid are laughing all the way to the bank. 655 people have $4 trillion in wealth, while 200 million can't cover a $1,000 expense. The U.S. economy now clearly fits the definition of a banana republic. A brief description is, in political science, the term banana republic describes a politically unstable country with an economy dependent upon the exportation of a limited resource product, such as bananas or minerals. In the case of the U.S., the product we export is of course dollars printed out of thin air. A wonderful export item since supply is unlimited. Further description is, typically, a banana republic has a society of extremely stratified social classes, usually a large impoverished working class and a ruling class plutocracy, composed of the business, political, and military elites of that society. Like all banana republics, the U.S. economy and social structure is now on the way to perdition with virtually nil chance for Biden and co. to reverse the inevitable course of events. The central banking system exists to make the rich richer. Your poverty is by design, it's what gives the dollar its value. What we have failed to understand is that the monetary system inherited from Bretton Woods shouldn't have been in the first place adopted and considered as the only normal way. This was something in disguise. The non-convertibility under Nixon and the petrodollar system was another sucker punch. This is what happens when banks control the currency. They won't let slaves escape without consequences. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to also hit the notification bell. Actually, it all started in the 70s with hyperinflation. That really was the first blow to middle-income blue-collar jobs, and since then neither party has been very good on inequality. Reagan allowed companies to destroy union jobs, Clinton signed atrocious trade deals with Mexico and China, Bush tried to fix it by allowing people to finance to wealth, and Obama never held anyone responsible for wealth destruction. All allowed unlimited immigration to lower wages, all allowed outsourcing with no consequences, all allowed unlimited consolidation which weakened workers' bargaining abilities. There's inflation in everything but wages. Inflation is caused only by debasing the currency. Its real name is counterfeiting, but when it's under color of law, it's called stimulus, quantitative easing, and other such fluff. It is a wealth transfer from the bottom 99% to the top 1%. How long can they support the biggest bubble in history? Pop. Happy New Year. And let's not forget how the first thing our Congress did was to pass a $100 billion tax cut that went 85% to the top 1% of wage earners and 95% to the top 10%. It's amazing what the government can do to protect their masters. The growing inequality since the 1980s is the result of tilting of the rules in favor of capital and against wage earners. Privatization, pay-as-you-go, free market deregulated small government, along with anti-union globalization. And somewhere it was decided that the rewards of production go to capital while labor was to be treated as a cost. The financial age simply provided the opportunity to exacerbate the inequality. It's a competition between capital, management and labor without consideration of the big picture. The financial age began with the deregulation of the 80s. As inflation and economic conditions worsened, more moms went back to work in order to sustain the family lifestyle. As economic conditions worsened, families relied on debt, including expensive credit card debt. Meanwhile, technology and automation helped workers be more productive, leading to greater profits, but the workers didn't share in that as the profits flowed to shareholders at the top. And what happened to taxes that usually funded strategic public investments in the engines of growth? Ronald Reagan. He imposed austerity and dramatically reduced taxes on the wealthy, calling them job creators and spewing the big lie of trickle-down economics. Another lie was that income from capital gains should be taxed very little to encourage investment. That caused wealthy capitalists with investment income, unearned income, to be taxed at a far lower rate than regular workers earning wages from their physical or mental work. What was once a progressive tax policy became very regressive. And as all this occurred, the wealthy continued to gain unequal political influence over laws and regulations that benefited them. Today, with citizens united in super PACs, there is no limit to the amount of dark money that can flow into elections and buy politicians. A 2020 study found that all the real income gains of the past 20 years have flowed to the top 0.1%. The 3 decades following World War II were a period of economic growth that was shared across the income distribution, but inequality in taxable income has increased substantially since 1980. Financialization refers to the increase in size and importance of a country's financial sector relative to its overall economy. We focus on financialization as a process of income redistribution with 2 phases. The first phase is one of rent seeking by an increasingly concentrated and politically influential finance sector. This rent seeking has been successful, leading to the pooling of profits and income in the finance sector. The second phase is a shift in behavior of non-finance firms away from production and non-financial services and toward financial investments and services. This shift has had both strategic and normative components and has reduced the bargaining power of labor and the centrality of production. As a consequence, financialization of the non-finance sector has led to lower employment, income transfers to executives and capital owners, and increased inequality among workers. America is today between a rock and a hard place. Either hyperinflation or financial crises now. If it goes for the $2 trillion monetized debt, as Biden wants, now they will increase monetized debt this year from 15% to 25% to GDP, that is from 25% to 75%, sure hyperinflation. At 40% monetized debt a year, hyperinflation is 100% guaranteed. In this case they postpone financial crises but go in a year in 75% sure hyperinflation. And that will end the American civilization. In the past 40 years China's command economy aimed at improving life for the masses has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of abject poverty. In the US, our system of crony capitalism, billionaires who proudly don't pay taxes for example, has seen tens of millions fall out of the middle class. That is just an economic fact of life that is at the root of our division. Follow the money. The unfettered globalization is the root cause for the upper middle class bifurcating from the lower middle class, and the diminishment of the middle class versus the upper middle class in the 1980s and the persistence of this condition. The upper middle class merely has sufficiently specialized skills to create a moat that is harder for predatory capitalism to breach. The upper middle class is the only portion of the middle class that is actually still paid what they deserve based on their education and contribution to a company. The middle class and lower are all underpaid, and many of the lower upper class and upwards are overpaid. It is low taxes on the 1% and vastly profitable corporations that prevent the middle class and lower from having a fair opportunity to advance. Better and cheaper education is actually not that expensive compared to other things, especially if you stop overpaying college administrative staff and allowing textbook companies to extort money from our students. How is Walmart allowed to make American taxpayers pay for their employees' welfare instead of paying them a living wage in the first place? That's not capitalism, that's socialism that only benefits corporations, privatize their profits, socialize their labor expenses. If they cannot make a profit unless they grossly underpay their employees, they should go out of business. That is how capitalism actually works. The Republic is officially dead, started its steady demise in 1913 when the Fed was created and was further accelerated in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. Money means nothing. We limp along, crushed by a system of satanic usury while our women are indoctrinated into entering the workforce while letting the state raise our children. This soul-crushing rat race is created to line bureaucrats' pockets and to pay for Jamie Dimon's next yacht. Incessant gaslighting by the Mockingbird media industrial complex and academia completely controlled by psychotic indoctrinating entire generations of youth to worship the state. A populace castrated and feminized by pharmaceuticals, resin and formaldehyde-soaked masks, toxic foods, air, and rampant M-wave and estrogen-mimetic plastic poisoning. End the Fed. Make labor valuable again. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.